Welcome back to the Bernard Lee Poker Show. We are talking with Kevin Mathers, aka KevMath himself, the WSOP czar. We have heard about his background in the world of poker and how he got started, but now he is starting a new venture. Started it last week, the KevMath Report. And for everyone who doesn't know this, he is really the guru and basically the one who knows all about poker. If you have a question about poker, we're not just talking about the World Series. You have a question about poker, you Twitter KevMath, and he will get you an A. If he doesn't know the answer, he usually can get you the answer. But now he's starting the KevMath Report. Kevin Mathers, aka KevMath. Kevin, tell me a little bit about how this idea came about and kind of why you decided to start the KevMath Report.
Well, thank you, Bernard, for having me on the show again in honor of your 14th anniversary. So the idea of the KevMath Report, it was something I've sort of been thinking about doing for a little while now, and it was sort of like I wanted to try something new because people usually don't know me as someone writing more than 280 characters a time. I fire off my tweets, and I fire off a lot of them, as people have known. So I wanted to try something like this, do something a little more long form, and it's not really the most complicated thing. It's sort of like it's basically a simple newsletter. I sort of review stuff that happened in the past week that I feel was important, and then sort of go over what's going to be coming up in the next week. And maybe at the beginning, at least the plan is I'm going to write a little commentary about about what's going on in the world of poker. And this time of year, there's certainly, with the World Series of Poker coming up, there's certainly a lot of stuff that can be talked about. So I figured give it a try. And I mean, I sort of had what seems like at the time right now some very low expectations. I was hoping to get at some point to 1,000 people subscribing, and I reached that number before I made a tweet the day before I released the first issue, and I got over 1,000 subscribers before it got sent, which I was very stunned at. I sort of didn't expect people would sort of want to read a email newsletter from me, but I am pleasantly surprised at the reaction so far.
Well, as many people, if you don't follow Kevin at KevMath, if you don't follow him on Twitter and you are in the world of poker, I'm not really sure why you are following anything else. Kevin's always going to give you the right information, always going to give you specifics and sometimes some insider stuff that no one else has. And so definitely I'm going to promote for him at KevMath, absolutely the best Twitter for poker information out there. And this insider report, the KevMath Report, is really giving you it all kind of in a compilation. Instead of like piecemeal tweets, it's really kind of putting it all together. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And I mean, it's not like the newsletter is going to be my Twitter feed. It's we sort of like I'm trying to encapsulate like 4 or 5 big things that happen in the world of poker and sort of get that information out there. Sort of people are going to read. I linked all the articles in question so people can read for themselves and learn, maybe something that they weren't aware of. And I'm helping spread information out to people who are curious about that particular item.
So with regards to the KevMath Report, the first issue came out last week. You kind of gave a quick summary of what was going on. The World Series is 38 days away, talked about the high stakes duel between Hellmuth and Dwan. Everyone was talking about Phil Hellmuth as he went 3-for-0 against Antonio Esfandiari, 3-0 versus Daniel Negreanu. Tom Dwan finally got one in the win column against Phil. And really, I think some people are saying it's the biggest streak in a long time for poker. I think it's an impressive streak. And I think the reason why a lot of people are talking about it is because a lot of people didn't expect Phil to win this many, if at all, believing that those other 2 players had such an advantage on him heads up. Obviously, Antonio, but Daniel, having just come off of this match versus Doug Polk, It's been a big deal. A lot of chatter about it, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, as you said, it was definitely. I mean, it may not have been as big a surprise when he swept Antonio because I mean he's basically playing more recreational these days. But I mean, yeah, like you said, Daniel Negreanu had quite played a ton of hands against Doug Polk, and he definitely had a lot of training when he was facing off against Doug Polk. So he felt, and I think the poker community in general also felt that Negreanu was going to basically wipe the floor with Helmuth. And as we realized, as we saw he was swept in 3 straight matches. And in the first match, Negreanu was up 19-1 in chips, and then Helmuth clawed back and won. And then the other two were not. It was more of a back and forth between the two, but I mean, it was definitely a huge. Anyone who was betting on Negreanu was definitely unhappy to see him lose 3 straight matches.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and then there was the one-off match against Fox Sports analyst Nick Wright, which that was definitely something. That was definitely a match out of left field. Like how did this guy? Why is this guy facing up against Phil?
Right.
How much took care of him, and then he's next who steps up to the plate is Tom Dwan. They have a long rivalry dating back. I believe it's over a decade. From one of the NBC
heads ups, right?
Yeah, they had the match against each other, and Helmuth, after he lost to Dwan, Helmuth said, "We'll see where you are in 5 years," and we've obviously seen the how Dwan has done over the years. Playing the biggest stakes in the world, on TV in Macau and elsewhere, and
right.
It's going to be at the time we're talking, Helmuth hasn't agreed to do a rematch, so it'll be interesting to see if that happens. It would be a $200,000 match for each player, or if we're going to see Tom Dwan face off against someone else, and it's going to be sort of interesting because it may create a new dynamic because people. Even though Phil has the white magic, I think they want some fresher matchups. And I think with Dwan against whomever, I think we'll see some. It'll definitely be one for the GTO fans, and who basically want to see someone younger than Helmuth face off. With it would be a younger person, I guess.
Right.
Like a couple of young guys. Maybe Dwan versus Polk, or Dwan versus Bousquet, or someone. Dwan versus
maybe Jungle Man or something.
Jungle Man, yes, Jungle, yeah. It matches like that. It will definitely get the people who interested to watch poker go.
Right. And maybe Ali Imirasov. I always can't pronounce.
Ali Imsirovic.
Imsirovic. I know he's pronounced his name wrong, and I always feel bad.
Yeah, it's not the easiest name to pronounce.
Right, but that's another one. So yeah, definitely incredible news in that front. You also talk about some of the tournaments, obviously the WSOP circuit and GG Poker Win Signature Series. Of course, we got to talk about my boys at the Run Good event down in Coconut Creek, which is getting a big deal. Run Good is back and alive and well after 2-time mid-major tour of the year. But also what was very interesting is you had a little segment that's very near and dear to my heart of live poker in Massachusetts update. I was very pleasantly surprised. And the interesting thing is that poker rooms in Massachusetts have not opened up. MGM announced that they are potentially going to reopen in fourth quarter, but in very small capacity. So Encore has said that they will reevaluate in December of this year. So we are very far off, unfortunately, from having poker here in Massachusetts. You can find it in other places. We talked about it in the news this coming weekend for Labor Day. There is going to be a big tournament up at Boston Billiards. Boston Billiards is up in Nashua, New Hampshire. And basically, they will have a $250 buy-in, 50,000 starting chips. Day 1, A, B, and C will be Friday the 3rd, Saturday the 4th, Sunday the 5th. And then whoever is returning will be on day 2, Monday the 6th. 12 p.m. start every day, 90 players max for flight A, B, and C, and you cannot re-enter. So it's a $250 buy-in, and it should be, if it sells out, will be a huge prize pool. So there is still poker in this area. It's just unfortunate that Massachusetts specifically isn't going to have poker anytime soon. And then you also mentioned something that was unfortunate. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of losses in the last 12 months or so. Mike Sexton, obviously leading that charge, but Lane Flack, unfortunately, just passed away. Really an incredible poker player, 6-time bracelet winner. And I was fortunate to be part of Mike Matisow's memorial tribute that he had. I didn't know Lane that well. I've met him a few times. We've played at the same table before. He was always extremely nice to me. And I will say that that I don't think that should just be blown off, because when you have someone of his stature and of the old school ilk, sometimes they will question people who are in the media, people who are of a later generation, to be like, who are you? And prove to me who you are. But Lane was always really, really nice to me, very respectful, not that he needed to be, but was very, very talkative. And we had a lot of fun talking at the tables. And it's a shame. When I heard he passed away, it's a real shame.
Yes, definitely. I mean, and Lane was definitely one of the great characters of poker. And some people would say, we need more people like Lane, active in the poker community. So, again, it's a generational thing. Some people don't really like the quote kids in poker these days, but Lane was definitely he was the life of the party, and his presence, at the World Series of Poker and elsewhere, at a table anywhere, in Vegas, California, wherever, his presence is definitely going to be missed.
Yeah. And some people said that maybe besides Stewie, he may have been, one of the most, intelligent poker players out there. Really a savant in a lot of respects. And he earned the name back-to-back Flack as he won a couple of titles in LA, and then it worked out perfectly because it happened again at the World Series. And so that's really how back-to-back Flack came. So really a great idea for the newsletter. I was one of the fast subscribers. I'm sure I was one of the first ones. When I saw the tweet, I immediately replied. How can other people subscribe to the newsletter?
Okay, so it's pretty simple. If you go to KevMath at Substack, SUB like boy, STACK.com, and you'll see, you'll see the links there to sign up for the newsletter, and it's scheduled to come out every Tuesday. We'll see how it goes. The plan is to release this every Tuesday. Work with the WSOP this fall may be a little difficult, but I will definitely try my best to get it out on a consistent basis every week.
Perfect. We're talking with KevMath, who is really poker information extraordinaire, the czar, WSOP czar, as he is nicknamed. And so, of course, we have to talk with you as we have you here. WSOP 2021. We're not talking the online version. We are talking the live version. We're not talking 2020 WSOP main event, half online, final table live. We are talking 88 bracelets live at the Rio, right behind me. If you're watching on YouTube, that's the mothership.
The mothership, yes.
No longer the ESPN mothership, I guess, right? It's CBS
the
Sports mothership,
yes.
Right? But the mothership, the final table. Tell me a little bit about what you think. First and foremost, I think we have to touch this topic first, because it is the topic that got everyone buzzing last week, and we have to reference it. WSOP announced, there was a lot of discussions about a Twitter announcement that happened the week before, but it has been officially announced that all attendees, players, media, spectators, staff, must provide proof of vaccination against COVID-19. That was released on Friday. That was really a big, Twitter was ablaze. People were sharing it, sending it out, forwarding it to everyone. I must have gotten it about really like 10, 12 times. And, every single time I was like, I know, I saw it. We're good. Don't worry. I saw it when it first came out, but thank you. I appreciate it. Talk a little bit about it. Talk a little bit about what it is, which I just explained, but you just kind of in your own words, why you think so, what kind of came about this, just talk a little bit about this scenario, which I think is, it was huge news. It really was. It was not a full turnaround, but it definitely was the WSOP listening to the public.
Yes, and when you say that, it's sort of like it's a tweet that I put out. It was me who kind of broke the news, quote unquote. The infamous Rule 115, which basically was saying if you were playing with someone who tested positive for COVID, you would be disqualified from the tournament. Right. And obviously, a rule like that was definitely going to get people very upset. Right. So there was a clarification a few days afterwards, and now basically is the full explanation of what's going to happen. So as you said, players must be fully vaccinated, which means they must receive their second Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca shot at least 14 days before the event that you're going to play, or also 14 days after you receive your one and only Johnson & Johnson shot. And so it's basically WSP is giving people, you've got a month to get that, to get your 2 shots in, or 1 shot, or whatever you may decide. And it's basically you cannot, we're going to be verifying people. They mentioned the use of the Clear app. People who travel in U.S. are probably maybe familiar with that app or the service. So it's basically it's a one-time process. When you're registering, you show them your proof of vaccination. There's a QR code that you use that you just scan on your phone, or if you don't have the app, have your actual vaccination card. Mm-hmm. It's one-time process, and then you're in the system and then you can register for whatever, if you play other events, you'll be playing those events at the WSB, and you've said that you're fully vaccinated. And that's, as you said, it applies to the tournament staff, it applies to the media, it applies to the dealers, even if you're spectators. And it's a note that really wasn't clearly specified in the press release, but there's going to be a limited number of spectators. I mean, as we've been to our share of WSPs. The rails are really crowded at times, and we've seen that, especially as the main event or the big events. They're rooting on their friends. They're looking to find their favorite professional, maybe get
or big players, like the Granos, the Helmuths of the world.
Exactly.
They're just packed around there, or right. Celebrities, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, we don't, obviously we don't, at this moment, we don't know how much of a limit there will be on spectators, but it's been spelled out. So everyone has to be vaccinated to be at the World Series of Poker. And as you said, the Twitter community has been on both sides of this issue. Some people are happy that this has happened because they're worried. They have their concerns about getting COVID. We've also in previous years, people have worried about getting the Rio flu. That's definitely been a concern for people. So they're worried about coming to Vegas, getting COVID, or being next to someone who has COVID and they get it. And it helps. There's people that were on the fence that are now going to go because they've already been vaccinated. Right. They're happy to hear this announcement. And then there's people on the other side, they don't want to be vaccinated. They feel that they've got the antibodies. They don't need to get a vaccine as well. There are people that have their issues with the vaccine itself. They feel they feel like it's that the government is controlling them. However that happens. So it's as we see with very many issues in the poker community, there's definitely 2 distinct sides. There's not really that much room in the middle. There's people happy about it, there's people that aren't. And the issue is going to be, is this going to affect numbers? I mean, the Delta variant has already caused that issue. It's like we're going to have a few more people. Probably. I mean, there's going to be, we've definitely heard from people who are saying they're not coming. And people who are going to be coming. And personally, I'm going to say this myself. I'm saying this as me. I'm not as a WSP employee. I understand people's concerns, And you know what, look, it's your choice. No one is forcing you to play, World Series of Poker event. There's right now, there are several tournament series going on in Vegas in the fall. Venetian, the Win, probably could be the Aria, Golden Nugget, elsewhere. At this moment, there's been no announcement of them requiring vaccinations. And so if you don't want to get the vaccination, and there's maybe other opportunities out there. And it's, look, I mean, I understand the concerns, but I mean, I've been vaccinated for several months now, and there's definitely people that were chomping at the bit to come to Vegas to play poker. And we've seen it, we've seen the tournaments at the Venetian, we've seen it in Florida, we've seen it in Texas. There's the turnout's been amazing. And and there's people like that in Massachusetts, like you are, or that haven't been able to play poker, and they don't play online, or they don't want to go to Foxwoods and play poker, or they don't want to play a few in Boston Billiards next month. I mean, there's people want to have that WSOP experience, and the WSOP is doing the best they can to provide the best experience possible, and have everyone be healthy. So if you're not feeling well, if you want to get vaccinated, don't show up at the Rio, because you will be turned away.
Right. And I think, and again, I think it's a very interesting decision. Obviously, it was a discussion that was all over Twitter and all over social media a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and now this decision is brought through. It really is a very interesting one. To be personally, am undecided right now, just because I have been vaccinated, but it's still a little bit of a concern. And I know there are people, from the Chris Moneymakers of the world who have said that they aren't going, and there are other people. So we'll see how, as Brian Petroli said last week, I haven't made plans, and I'm just going to wait to see what happens, because you just don't know what's going to happen. And it could change so rapidly and so quickly. And so I think that's a good attitude to take. And, the WSOP made a very decisive decision, and, good for them to make a decision instead of wavering and waffling back and forth. Like you said, they gave people enough time. You want to come, you're not vaccinated, go. Literally go now. We'll go out the door and go find one quickly, and you'll be in time. So beyond that, of course, that was the big news this week. How are you looking forward to the WSOP? Are you excited? Are you anxious? Or what's kind of your scenario, you personally?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm very excited, because I haven't really. The last poker trip I made was March 2020. I went to Atlantic City, right as COVID was first starting hitting.
Yeah.
In New York City, I went to Atlantic City, and poker didn't go very well. Didn't get sick, fortunately. But I mean, I haven't seen a lot of people in over 2 years, and obviously other people have. And that's going to be the case for a lot of people. They want to see, they haven't seen their friends. It's everyone calls the World Series of Poker their summer camp. That's we all get together, and we all have fun, drink and go out and party or whatever. And I haven't been able to do that. There was one trip, Kansas State, we won't count that, but I haven't been in Vegas in over 2 years, and I'm itching to go to Vegas, and I want to see people, and I want to have fun, and I want to play poker. I want to fire the daily deep stacks, and tweet about people,
yeah,
and just have a good time. But I mean, again, I have my share of concerns as well. I hope, I'm sure the WSOP has their best. They're going to have this figured out, and hopefully there won't be a major outbreak. I mean, that would be very bad, but again, it's that could happen anywhere. We could be. You could be going to a big concert, you could catch COVID there. There's a certain amount of risk out there, and all we do is to do our best to minimize that as much as possible. But also, I mean, people don't really want to have. We've definitely experienced, we've definitely seen it. That people have just been frustrated about the whole situation, and
right.
There's people that they've done their job, but other people haven't.
Right.
And we sort of see that with the vaccination. People got vaccinated so they can go out and do things. And this is what the WSOP is offering. If you're vaccinated, come on down.
Right.
And that's all we can do. Could something happen in Vegas? I hope not. But it's going, we're all taking a risk. We can all, it could be just, we could have been 2 years ago, someone could, anything could happen. We could cross the street and get hit by a car. That's going to happen, COVID or no COVID. We all have to assume a certain amount of risk. And, some people are more willing to take a risk and others are a little more cautious, which I certainly understand. And, hopefully, the 2022 edition in Vegas, hopefully all of this is taken care of. We can all, not have to wear a mask or not have to worry about you being vaccinated or not. We all can have fun. I hope, I know I'm rambling, I'm sorry. But I mean, I want to be in Vegas.
End of story. I want to be in Vegas.
I want to be in Vegas. I'm flying out the last week in September, and I'm hoping to be there for 66 days. And I hope, fingers crossed and all that. And I hope to see you and many other people in Las Vegas.
Perfect. KevMath, I appreciate it. Always a pleasure to have you on. Always a pleasure to share the knowledge. Definitely get subscribed to the KevMath Report. Kev, give the website again.
Yes, it's KevMath.substack, like your Subway sandwich stacked up.com. And
so it's KevMath.substack or at Substack?
No, it's KevMath at Substack.
Hold on.
How I can say KevMath.
Yeah.
Dot. Substack. Yes.
Okay.
There's a dot. There's 2 dots.
Okay. Yeah. So 2 dots. So I think you said at previously. So it's so it's KevMath.substack.com.
Yeah.
So everyone knows that. Yep.
Yeah. And you can go to.
And I'll put the link below for everyone to see it.
Yeah, and it's also my Twitter profile at KevMath. And also, I should mention briefly, I also created a dedicated Twitter account to the Vegas tournament happenings, and that's at KevMath Vegas.
That's right. Yeah, so
okay. You'll see that account just deals with all the Vegas tournament stuff. So if you don't want to read all, everything, you've got this little corner of the world where there's a lot less tweets.
Perfect. Excellent. Kevin Mathers, we appreciate the knowledge, appreciate the time as always, my friend, and hope to see you out in a little bit in Vegas at the World Series. Okay, my friend?
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Kevin Mathers here on the Bernard Lee Poker Show. Listen, everyone follow him. Definitely get in touch with his report and his Twitter. And we will continue our coverage as we are leading up to the World Series of Poker very quickly, almost about a month away, and it will kick off at the Rio. So stay tuned. And as always, may you always go in with the best hand, and may you never get unlucky. Good night, everybody.